The September 11th attacks, also known as the 9/11 attacks, were a series of airline hijackings and suicide attacks carried out in 2001 against targets in the United States by 19 militants affiliated with the Islamic extremist group Al-Qaeda and were the deadliest terrorist attacks on American soil in U.S. history. The attacks on New York City and Washington, D.C. caused widespread death and devastation and sparked a massive counterterrorism operation in the United States. Today, we'll look at the tragedies that transpired on that dreadful day. Let's get started. It was an unforgettable day. In the terror attack that permanently changed the United States, over 3,000 people were killed and thousands more were injured. An estimated 33,000 or more individuals safely escaped the damaged buildings. New York's police and fire departments were particularly heavily hit. Hundreds had raced to the scene of the attacks, and over 400 police officers and firemen perished. The September 11th attacks were largely provoked by Osama bin Laden, the head of the militant Islamic group Al-Qaeda, who had naive ideas about the United States in the run-up to the attacks. According to Abdul Walid al-Masari, an Egyptian who was a bin Laden associate in Afghanistan in the 1980s and 1990s, in the years prior to the attacks, bin Laden became increasingly convinced that America was weak. He believed that the United States was much weaker than some of those around him thought. The September 11th plot revealed that Al-Qaeda was a worldwide organization. The plot unfolded across the globe, with planning meetings in Malaysia, operatives learning to fly in the United States, plot leaders based in Hamburg, Germany, money transfers from Dubai, and the recruitment of suicide operatives from countries throughout the Middle East, all of which were eventually overseen by Al-Qaeda's leaders in Afghanistan. In Hamburg, key elements of the September 11th plot took form. 4 of the Hamburg cell's senior pilots and planners who would seize operational charge of the September 11th attacks. The hijackers, the majority of whom were Saudis, had established themselves in the United States for some time prior to the attacks. They traveled in small groups, to some receiving commercial aviation training. The attacks. On September 11, 2001, groups of assailants boarded 4 domestic planes at 3 East Coast airports and crippled the crews, some of whom may have been stabbed with box cutters hidden by the hijackers. The hijackers then gained control of the planes, which were all big and headed for the West Coast with full loads of fuel. At 8:46 a.m., the first jet, American Airlines Flight 11 from Boston, crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. Most onlookers originally mistook this for an accident involving a small commuter jet. The second jet, United Airlines Flight 175, also from Boston, crashed into the South Tower 17 minutes later. There was no question that the United States was under attack at this moment. The impact severely wrecked each structure, causing it to burst into flames. Office employees stranded above the sites of impact jumped to their deaths, rather than face the flames raging within the skyscrapers. The third airplane, American Airlines Flight 77, took off from Dulles Airport outside Washington, D.C., and collided with the southwest side of the Pentagon, just outside the city at 9:37 a.m., sparking a fire in that area of the complex. Within minutes, the Federal Aviation Authority issued a nationwide ground stop, and the fourth plane, United Airlines Flight 93 from Newark, New Jersey, crashed near Shanksville in the Pennsylvania countryside after its passengers attempted to overpower their assailants after being informed of events via cellular phone. The severely damaged South Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed at 9:59 a.m., and the North Tower fell 29 minutes later. Lower Manhattan was immediately engulfed with clouds of smoke and debris. Office workers and people panicked as they attempted to outrun the rising debris clouds. The attacks were captured in countless pictures by news photographers, bystanders, first responders, security cameras, FBI agents, and others. These scenes document the enormity, chaos, and emotion of 9/11 on every scale. On September 14th, Bush paid a visit to Ground Zero, the blazing pile of wreckage that was the World Trade Center and the thousands who died there. Bush, who was standing on top of the wrecked fire vehicle, grabbed a bullhorn and addressed the rescue personnel who were working desperately to discover any survivors. When one of the workers complained that he couldn't understand what the president was saying, Bush made one of the most memorable remarks of his presidency. "I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knocked these buildings down will hear from us all soon." September 11th survivors bear scars and the weight of unanswerable questions. Some grapple with the place and tragedy defined by an enormous loss of life. Share your thoughts with us in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. Hit the bell icon to turn on notifications. And if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? And subscribe to our channel. See you in the next one soon.